News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's now 4:05 in the KVNU studios, and I'm Will Feelright. The official start to the weekend almost here. Looks like it's going to be a pretty nice weekend. I'll check that weather forecast on the way in just a minute. Well, KVNU's top story, the defense attorney for the man accused of killing a Santaquin police officer during that May 2024 traffic stop is arguing that the fatal crash was not intentional. Michael Jane faces aggravated murder charges for allegedly fleeing a traffic stop along I-15 and then driving against traffic and crashing his semi-truck into Sergeant Bill Hoosier. Now, following the second day of Jane's preliminary hearing yesterday, defense attorney Rudy Batista claimed that Jane was attempting to avoid another vehicle and did not see Hoosier and is absolutely remorseful. Now, earlier testimony from a woman held in Jane's truck alleged that they had used methamphetamine and that Jane threatened to kill her prior to the crash. Now, prosecutor Chad Grunder reaffirmed the state's intent to prove the acts were intentional and knowing. Lawyers will be submitting briefs ahead of a June hearing to determine if Jane will stand trial, and prosecutors are currently seeking the death penalty. Well, in other news, Utah Representative Blake Moore says the United States has achieved tactical objectives in its war with Iran, but he admits that officials underestimated the severe disruptions to global shipping. Now, speaking earlier this week, the Republican congressman highlighted efforts to disable Iranian military capabilities and to deter nuclear advancement. However, Moore noted that Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz has caused major supply chain issues. Now, yesterday, President Donald Trump extended a deadline for Iran to reopen the critical waterway by 10 days. Moore also criticized the ongoing Department of Homeland Security shutdown, calling the funding lapse ridiculous. And it's another sure sign that summer is just around the corner. Lagoon Amusement Park unveiled its newest thrill ride, the Nutcracker, during a preview event that happened yesterday ahead of the park's weekend opening. Now, engineered by the North Logan company, S&S Worldwide, the giant swing ride stands over 100 feet tall and propels riders at speeds up to 70 miles an hour. Now, reaching swinging heights of nearly 150 feet, it's quite a ride. Staff and preview riders praise the attraction's intense but smooth experience. Now, a 50-foot Nutcracker centerpiece named Hans also anchors the new attraction, which was announced last fall following the closure of the park's 50-year-old Jetstar 2 roller coaster. Now, Lagoon is opening for the season coming up tomorrow, operating on the weekends, weather permitting, until it will transition to its summer hours, Memorial Day weekend. Well, and we're going to see high clouds as we head into the weekend, as temperatures have been in the mid-60s today. Tonight will drop into the low 40s, and then 72, 73 for Saturday and Sunday's high, with these high clouds continuing. Monday, we'll see temperatures in the high 60s, and then a chance of rain, thunderstorms coming for Tuesday and Wednesday. And it's the Allies Law Firm that brings you our weather here at the top of the hour. Jace Allen with Allen Law, Chris Guyman of the Conflict Resolution, and seasoned litigator Sam Goebel have now joined forces to form the Allies Law Firm. And it matters most, you deserve the Allies Law Firm. And I'm Will Feelright for KVNU News.
Do you have a nasty weed problem? We have the right person for you. Sir, you work for Logan Extermination, don't you? Can you help these folks get rid of pesky dandelions?
Of course I can help. I am the Terminator. I will terminate those little yellow devils in your yard. Call me at Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
Spring special. Terminate your weeds and green up your yard for only $40, based on maximum 5,000 square foot or less.
News and current events. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
I'm Jace Allen, founder of Allen Law. My focus has always been helping families protect what matters most through meaningful estate planning. I've now joined forces with attorney mediator Chris Guyman of the Conflict Resolution Center and seasoned litigator Sam Goebel to form the Allies Law Firm. Whether you're planning ahead, resolving marital conflict, or facing a courtroom battle, we bring strategy, strength, and experience together under one roof. Because when it matters most, you deserve the Allies Law Firm. Call the Allies Law Firm today. We plan, we fight, you win.
Monday edition, Clay and Buck will break down the absolute latest going on in Iran. Are we moving closer towards a ceasefire and a resolution, or have things gotten more tumultuous during the course of the weekend? We will discuss. We'll also give you the absolute latest on TSA, the travel mess, all that and more. You won't want to miss it. Come hang with us on the Monday edition of Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM. KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Friday, March 27th. I'm Jason Williams, 61 degrees here at the Radio Ranch at 4:11 in the afternoon. And appreciate you joining us. For the People movie show coming up at 5 o'clock. Due to the USU game last Friday, no movie show, so we've got some catching up to do. We'll finally be talking about, opened last weekend, but we'll talk about it today. The big film in theaters making a lot of money is Project Hail Mary, based on a book written by the same author behind the book and movie The Martian with Matt Damon. This one stars Ryan Gosling, and interestingly, for the most part, only Ryan Gosling, very similar to The Martian, but a really different story with a really different trajectory. And I'll just say this now, you should see this. Whether you're a fan of science fiction or The Martian, the previous author and filmmaker's film and book, doesn't matter. This is a really, really good one. So we'll talk about that in hour two, as well as Ready or Not 2, sequel to one of my favorite horror movies over the last couple of years because it was so funny in a way that you sort of felt guilty laughing, kind of funny. That's coming up in hour two on the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. I want to give a quick shout out to someone. She is running for Congress, Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby. And, I want to give her a shout out because she felt so bad about this. She was in town last night. Some connections were made. I finally got in touch with, her campaign staff, let them know that I'd wanted to get them here on the show. We spoke with the incumbent in this race, Representative Blake Moore, of course, a couple of weeks ago. Well, yeah, a couple of weeks ago. My memory's bad. When he announced his run for re-election here in what is now UT2, not UT1, the congressional district. The map changed a bit, so the numbers got shuffled around, but basically the same district. Congressman Blake Moore running for re-election. We spoke with him. I wanted to speak with Carrie Ann Lisenby. She's a state house representative from the Clearfield area, a Republican, and she is challenging Congressman Moore in what is, I think, sure to go to a primary. I think it would be the safest bet anyone can make right now that this race goes to a primary. So I wanted to speak with her. We had that arranged, and then her team discovered they had double booked her. And I gotta say this, just the nicest person, felt so bad about it, wanted to pass a message on to our listeners that she was so sorry about it. I told her it would actually work out well because we've got time on Monday or Tuesday. And so she and I are going to talk. Well, her team and I are going to talk, and we'll work out a time to have her join us on Monday or Tuesday's program instead of today, as I mentioned yesterday. So, shake up to the schedule here, but, yeah, it happens. We get it. And, these campaigns before the April state, nominating convention for the Republicans and Democrats, two major parties. Well, all the parties will have their conventions in April, but the two that matter, the Republicans and the Democrats, will meet towards the end of April. This race will be, then weighed in on by delegates, about, between 3,500, 4,000 delegates, total in the state. Usually about 3,000 show up for a convention. They'll weigh in on this race between Congressman Moore and State Representative Lisenby. And then, again, easiest prediction I've ever made. this will go to a primary. If I had to guess what will happen, so Utah GOP delegates have taken a pretty hard right-hand turn, and it shows. You saw this in the gubernatorial race in 2024 when GOP delegates preferred Phil Lyman, former state representative from Blanding, Utah, as their gubernatorial nominee for the Utah Republican Party, and Trent Staggs as their gubernatorial nominee for this open state Senate seat race that year, as Mitt Romney was retiring. And so that was the result of convention. Then everybody went to a primary, and all the regular hundreds of thousands of registered Republicans got to weigh in, and they weren't very big fans of Phil Lyman or Trent Staggs. In the end, Governor Spencer Cox won re-election easily, and now Senator John Curtis won that race easily. And by easily, I mean by a lot, so in those primaries. So they weren't close. It's a dynamic that has played out as the delegates kind of silo themselves a bit more, seeing, the threats to the caucus convention system with Senate Bill 54 and the preceding that, the Count My Vote initiative, which had enough signatures to get on the ballot. That's why we got Senate Bill 54. The legislature said, look, instead of ending the caucus convention system entirely with this ballot initiative, would you be willing to compromise, keep the caucus convention system in place, but still allow a signature route to the ballot? And for those of you who have been paying attention for a long time, this all stemmed from Utah GOP delegates the year before, 2 years before, refusing to lower the primary threshold to make it more easy for candidates to go through the caucus convention system and end up in a primary. The argument behind all of this is that you have more people weighing in if you're sending it to a balloted primary, where registered Republicans throughout the district or throughout the state in a statewide race get to weigh in, as opposed to a few thousand delegates. And of course, the counter argument than that is, what's the point of a caucus convention system with delegates if they aren't the ones making the decision on who the party's nominees are? Those are the two competing, lines of thought on this. But again, I think delegates have, and this goes for Democratic Party delegates too. They've done some of their own wacky things over the years. Delegates have to take some responsibility here. If you're sending people like Phil Lyman up as the nominee, and then you throw those people out to the general registered Republican voter base here in Utah, and they can't stand that candidate, you're making yourself irrelevant. So I would hate to see the caucus convention system end, but you'll see this play out in this race, I think, again, where there is a legitimate question whether it's relevant anymore. And again, I don't think it should be made irrelevant. I like caucus convention systems. I like that as a delegate, you have, kind of some key access, even after they're elected, to, federal delegates. As Utah grows, I think a caucus convention system would actually become more important. But I understand why it's waning in popularity and relevance, when it comes to, what the campaigns pay attention to. Because again, you have this system that throws out candidates like Phil Lyman, who, for whatever reason, ended up not being very popular with rank and file registered Republicans in that primary, but was very popular with Utah GOP delegates. When you have a gap like that, one system's going to fall in relevance, right? And I guarantee you it's not going to be the system in which there are far more people weighing in. So I hope this course corrects on its own. We'll see. As for this race here in UT2, I think you're going to have folks paint the candidates as so Congressman Moore, a bit more of a middle of the road Republican. I mean, he's very conservative, but he's kind of there with Congressman Rob Bishop before him, I think is a good example. They're very similar. in the way they voted, of course, but also in their opinion of things, and then what they do with their time out there. Like Congressman Bishop before him, Congressman Blake Moore has focused primarily on finding ways to tackle debt and deficit, even though, there isn't the political will for, this is the big secret neither party will tell you, at the national level, neither the Democratic Party or the Republican Party are really that serious about doing something with the deficit. They talk a lot about it when it's politically convenient, but neither party's very serious about it. And Congressman Moore, to his credit, has tried to chip away at that bit by bit, which is really all a single member of Congress can do. So I bring that up to say he's very similar to Congressman Rob Bishop before him. Representative Lisenby in the legislature has been a bit further to the right than of Congressman Moore, but not by much. So she, I think this is probably the first time in the second congressional district now. It's going to take me a while to learn the new numbers. I hope they stop changing things when it comes to elections here. And I'm talking to you, the legislature especially, but stop triggering election changes through bills and through lawsuits and all of this stuff, because it's getting hard to keep up. So here in UT2, Congressional District 2, I think this is the first time in quite some time that you have you're going to have this go to a primary, and people are going to have to really get to know the candidates to kind of discern a big difference. Now, I could be wrong about this, because Representative Lisenby's campaign so far, at least online, has been, I'll be blunt, a bit like Phil Lyman's was in that gubernatorial race a couple of years ago. And again, that wasn't exactly a hit with rank and file registered Republican voters in the primary, even if it was a hit with the 3,000 GOP delegates who voted at the convention that year. So yeah, maybe we'll see the exact same cards set up and everything comes down the same way. I feel that it's going to get it's going to be a little bit more of a debate, and I love primaries. I know a lot of party insiders don't. I know party leadership, they hate them. They recognize that they're healthy, but it's a huge headache for county party chairs and their teams when there's a primary. I love primaries because it keeps, even if every single primary results in the incumbent winning still, which is usually the case here in Utah. We love our incumbents for some reason. Probably because I think we have a healthy Western cynicism about how effective any of this can be in the first place. And I think Utahns generally are like, well, devil or something like that, and they vote for the incumbents. No, I joke. I think, in general, Utahns, if you look at the surveying, are pretty happy with their representative at the federal level and in our state legislature. And so there's not a lot of dissatisfaction, which is usually what triggers change. So I get that, we're going to be a state that on a higher level than other states, or more frequently than other states, reelects incumbents. I still think primaries are very healthy. They keep everybody on their toes. They make everybody think. These candidates will have to talk first to delegates before the April statewide nominating convention. And then after that, between end of April and June, to registered Republicans, throughout the district. And they'll have to make their case. They'll have to talk about policy. They'll have to talk about their records. In this case, we'll have two people with records, Lisenby in the state legislature, and of course, Congressman Moore. This would be his third term that he's running for. Fourth, sorry. And so this is, I don't know, I think this is a pretty cool dynamic that is setting up here. Again, I could be wrong. We could see this take shape just like we did the gubernatorial race, where you have a kind of a more serious, I think the popular word right now is establishment candidate that is more popular with registered voters, and someone who's a bit more extreme, popular with the delegates. Maybe that's the way this takes shape. I feel like, again, basing this only on looking at Representative Lisenby's record as a state representative, votes alone, because I haven't followed her closely, and Congressman Moore's votes at the federal level, I think we might end up with a situation where both people have kind of a similar record that they're running on, which of course would give the advantage to the incumbent. But still, I think it's going to end up being an interesting debate because there's so much happening right now. And it's been a while since we had a congressional race, where there was, an interesting debate. No offense to former congressional candidates. I was a huge fan of Tina Cannon. She's the state auditor now. But she was a great candidate in that race, several years ago. But the topics of the race were just, almost ridiculous. So I think that's going to be a different situation this go round. So, anyway, the reason I bring all this up again is I mentioned yesterday that we'd be speaking with Representative Carrie Ann Lisby here on the show today. When I talked to her this afternoon, she said they were trying to rearrange a previously scheduled interview that they hadn't noticed on the calendar, and they were trying to make us a priority. I graciously said, hey, we can do this just as easily on Monday. But she did want me to apologize to our listeners, and I know you'll understand. So, Representative Carrie Ann Lisby will join us on Monday. And then speaking of this congressional race, one more thing. On Friday, so bookending the week here, we'll speak with Representative Carrie Ann Lisby, the challenger in this race, for the congressional district here in northern Utah. And the incumbent in this race, Representative Blake Moore, will join us on Friday's show, because he's actually going to be in town for a couple of delegate training events and more. So he'll actually be here in the studio on Friday's show. So Lisby on Monday, Representative Blake Moore on Friday, and we'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People right after this.
We could all use a little extra cash this time of year. Bring in all that old metal you have laying around and we'll pay you for it. Hi, this is Chris White, local manager at Valley Recycling. That's what we do at Valley Recycling. We'll pay you for most anything metal, from empty soda cans to old cars and appliances. For the really big jobs, we can help with our fleet of trucks and containers. We take all your scrap metal and give you cash. Mention this ad and get an extra 5 cents per pound for your aluminum cans, offering all the best prices for your metal recycling. Valley Recycling, 145 North, 10th West in Logan.
Grab a pen, Logan, Ogden. I'm going to tell you how much it really costs to borrow $500 at the DLC. If you borrow $500, it will only cost you $3.78 per day. You can keep it out for a week, a month, a year. That's up to you. No application fee, no sneaky charges. Just $3.78 per day in interest for a $500 loan. For new customers, the first week's interest is even on us. It's easy to qualify, and you only pay interest for the time you have the loan out at Dollar Loan Center. Stop by in Logan on US 89 by McDonald's, or in Ogden on 12th at Lincoln. You can also get up to $5,000 in minutes at don'tbebroke.com and save the drive.
License by the Utah Department of Financial Institutions. Payment amounts based on biweekly pay frequency with annual percentage rate of 275%. For additional cost information, call 866-550-4352. Subject to approval, limitations may apply.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Craig Humphreys, how does it feel now to have that hat hung up on the wall?
Well, it does feel a little strange. It's definitely a change of lifestyle.
Your work at the Logan City Fire Department, serving as fire marshal, the work you did at the North Logan Fire Department. And then on top of that, of course, you also served in public office for the North Logan City Council.
I've always enjoyed serving the community. I was taught that, in my youth, and I just really enjoyed it. It's been a good time.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Coming up, Utah System of Higher Education held their student tuition and fee discussion today. And we've got the audio for you, courtesy of Eric Franson of CashValleyDaily.com. That's coming up in just a bit. Before we get to that, though, this is a cool event that happens every year at Utah State University called Nucleus Boost. This is a focus on entrepreneurship and also an opportunity similar to the work of the Cache Chamber of Commerce, but to connect local businesses, northern Utah businesses, with students and their research, and students who are about to graduate maybe and looking for a job in a certain industry. So it's half job fair, half conference and half opportunity for students at USU to show off a little bit. And the whole Nucleus Boost event this year is teaming up with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. This used to be Go Ed as we knew it. Now it's Go EO. I don't like the change, but I'm not the governor or the legislature. And we had a chance actually, Alici Archibald had a chance to actually sit down and talk with the man behind all of this, Tyler Jennings.
No one has it all figured out, and I want students to know that.
That's Tyler Jennings, the creator of Nucleus Boost and part of the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. Part of the Nucleus Institute, this state-funded program focuses on innovation. The conference travels across the state and is made for business owners, students, and anyone who wants to build. Jennings teaches entrepreneurship at Utah Valley University, and he says the problems his students face...
It wasn't from a lack of skill, it was from a lack of self-belief.
Alongside speakers, business leaders host breakout classes, and industry mentors meet one-on-one with aspiring entrepreneurs.
The world's quickly changing. More people need to be builders and creators. We can't be consumers.
Reporting for KVNU, I'm Alici Archibald.
Thanks, Alici. And for those interested, I've also posted some details to our Facebook page, but it's pretty simple. Go to nucleusutah.org. And then in the events side there, just click on the Boost Conference and see all the details for the Boost Conference at Utah State University. And this is going basically throughout all of next week in various ways on campus. The big kickoff event was this morning at the Eccles Conference Center. One additional bit of information about this, I had a chance to talk with some local business owners and leaders who actually made it up there. And there's going to be a lot of discussion about nuclear energy in this overall spotlight on entrepreneurship. So if you're curious about that, another reason to get up there. Links on the Facebook page. Thanks to Alici, and we'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. A Republican-backed initiative to repeal Utah's Proposition 4 anti-gerrymandering law will likely miss the November ballot after falling short of signature requirements in a crucial tipping point Senate district. Now, despite turning in over 200,000 signatures and initially meeting thresholds in 26 of 29 state Senate districts, the repeal effort lost necessary ground. Now, a targeted signature removal campaign by Better Boundaries and other groups successfully encouraged enough voters to rescind their support, dropping the initiative more than 250 signatures before the required threshold in Senate District 15. Now, the failure marks a significant blow to the GOP, which received over $4 million from a Trump-aligned group for the effort. Utah Republican Party Chair Rob Axson vowed to continue fighting the 2018 law. Meanwhile, state lawmakers are also expected to propose a constitutional amendment later this year that would grant the legislature power to overturn citizen ballot initiatives. And despite the early arrival of summer-like weather, Logan City officials are reminding outdoor enthusiasts that Trapper Park remains closed to ongoing construction. Now, the popular West Side Park has been shut down since last September to accommodate several major infrastructure and environmental improvements. Now, these include a canal enclosure to prevent water seepage and also a Logan River restoration project. Now, crews are stabilizing riverbanks, enhancing wetlands, and clearing debris such as old cars and concrete to improve the habitat and Blue Trail access. Now, additionally, the city is installing a pedestrian bridge on the park's west side to facilitate future trail expansion. Officials also plan to replace invasive crack willow trees with non-invasive species over the next 15 years to maintain the area's canopy and water quality. Now, an official reopening date has yet to be announced. And Layton has become the first city in Utah to ban cryptocurrency kiosk machines in an effort to try to combat a surge in devastating financial scams. Now, the ordinance follows reports of massive local losses to increasingly sophisticated fraud. Now, one Utah resident reported losing $850,000 after a scammer had contacted her on LinkedIn 3 years ago. Now, the suspect cultivated a romantic relationship before convincing her to deposit her life savings into a fraudulent crypto investment. Now, FBI agent Mike Montoya praised Layton's new ban, noting that it'll help protect vulnerable residents, particularly the elderly, from being coerced into transferring funds by local crypto ATMs. Now, because stolen cryptocurrency is rarely recovered, Montoya warned the public to never send money to any unverified online acquaintance. Now, the FBI is also urging anyone who suspects that they may have been a victim of fraud to contact law enforcement. Well, as we get close to the weekend, we're going to continue to see these high clouds into Saturday and Sunday as temperatures have been in the mid-60s today. Tonight will drop to around 42 overnight. Tomorrow be around 72 and then 73 on Sunday. As we head into next week, Monday, increasing clouds. Tuesday, Wednesday is when we could see a chance of some rain headed our way. And weather brought to you by Matt Robbins, now with the Alera Group. He has the options when it comes to your insurance coverage needs. If you've got questions about insurance, Matt Robbins with the Alera Group has the answer. So give him a call today at 752-0101. And I'll have another check of local news coming up at 5:05. I'm Will Fiore for KVNU News.
ABC News, I'm Mike Tavusky. The Department of Homeland Security remains unfunded. The House of Representatives is right now gearing up to vote on a bill tonight that would fund the entirety of DHS after they rejected a measure passed by the Senate overnight.
Speaker Johnson is flat out rejecting the bill that passed in the middle of the night in the Senate, which would have funded all parts of Department of Homeland Security except for strip out some funding for ICE as well as for border protection.
ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. In the meantime, President Trump has signed an executive order to restart paychecks for TSA workers who've been on the job without pay for weeks now. The White House says the money will come from the tax cut bill. In Florida, Tiger Woods is in police custody. This afternoon, authorities say he flipped his car after crashing into a truck towing a trailer. Police say the pro golfer passed a breathalyzer test but still appeared to be impaired. This is ABC News.
This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, and we are now Alera Group. This is great news for you. Now you have more choices and strength of a top national broker in your corner with our local personal service. Every situation is unique. Now we can tailor coverages from deductibles and limits to risk management, so it fits you even better. Let's compare options and tighten your program. Same friendly faces, same local office. Call 435-752-0101.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, this is David Kastner with Adams Wealth Advisors. Stocks ended another bruising session Friday, capping off the market's worst week since the Iran conflict began. The S&P 500 and Dow both dropped 1.7%, and the NASDAQ lost 2.1% on the day. For the week, the S&P 500 slid 2%, the Dow was off 0.9%, while the NASDAQ fell 3.2%, leaving it down more than 10% from its recent highs and in correction territory. Oil remained the central driver, with WTI trading near $100 a barrel, and the Iran conflict and disruptions around the Strait of Hormuz kept investors focused on inflation and weekend headlines. Energy again led the market, up more than 5% on the week, while smaller gains in the utilities and consumer staples were not enough to offset weakness in communication services and technology. Meta, the parent of Facebook, stayed under pressure after two adverse social media court rulings, and chipmakers and AI infrastructure names continue to struggle. Financials remain the market's weakest major group this year, down more than 12%, as investors increasingly watch for emerging cracks in private credit. This week's economic data painted a mixed but still resilient backdrop. Initial jobless claims held near 210,000 and continuing claims fell, pointing to labor market stability, while the March consumer sentiment weakened and other survey data reflected rising inflation and anxiety. Fed officials also sounded more focused on inflation risk, especially from higher energy prices, than on labor market softness. That inflation-fed mix helped push Treasury yields higher, with the 10-year now near 4.45%, feeding through to borrowing costs and lifting the average 30-year mortgage rate to 6.38%. Developments over the weekend will matter, and next week's retail sales and labor reports and purchasing manager surveys will be key. We hope that you can put all this turbulence behind you and enjoy the weekend. This is Adams Wealth Advisors, and you will be hearing from us again next week.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
I swear, every dad thinks the thermostat is a personal challenge. You turn it up, 5 minutes later, he turns it down. If you're warm, he's losing. You know what I'm talking about, right? But here's the thing. Dad might not be wrong. You might just need better insulation. Call Cardall's Insulation. Honestly, most homes are not adequately insulated. Cardall's uses high-performance insulation that stops cold drafts and keeps your home warm so you don't have to blast the furnace. Call Cardall's Insulation at 755-5012 and call a truce with Dad, 755-5012.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. We talked about this before the legislative session. Report from Utah State University's Board of Trustees via the Utah Statesman that student fees, athletics, campus rec fees, all of that stuff are, they've been surging for a while. And a request for an additional fee increase was imminent, and it came. That request was officially submitted while we were all distracted by the legislative session. The Utah State University Student Fee Board approved requests from Parking and Transportation, Campus Recreation, and the recommendations of the Student Fee Board were sent on to USU President Brad Mortensen, and they were reviewed by he and the Board of Trustees. And then they worked with the Utah Board of Higher Education, that's the statewide board that has to sign off on all of this. And then today they had their meeting, their public meeting with the Utah Board of Higher Education. It was interesting, to say the least. So in the middle of all this, also the Utah State University Fee Board voted in favor of a $10 increase to what they call the spouse pass fee, which is a streamlined approval process, and that's separate from student fees. The university is also launching a 5-year comprehensive review to determine whether certain costs should remain as fees or be just lumped in with overall tuition. And so what's behind all of this? It's a combination of rising costs for universities to operate, balanced with the idea that tuition is already absolutely insane. There's not a lot of breathing room in there. So it's come down to this where we're having some of the arguments, for example, when the Board of Trustees met back in January, there was a debate that broke out, and I don't mean to paint this as contentious. These are all people with the same goal here, but they're debating, what to do, what to recommend to the university president, who will then take those recommendations on to the Board of Trustees and the state's higher education board that has to is the final say in all of this. One of the debates I remember in January, they were talking about whether so campus shuttles, is that something students pay an additional fee for, or with their wide usage now, because USU, for all intents and purposes at this point is a non-driving campus. I mean, there's roads running through it, unlike actual non-driving campuses, but parking has been intentionally limited to discourage cars on, the campus proper as much as possible, to encourage people to use the parking lots and take the shuttles. So the question was, should that be an additional fee that students who use the shuttles pay? Or should that be like you get a pass? Or should that just be included in tuition and then every student has access to it? Museums, they're the museum where students have, if they're not an art major, art classes are held in a different spot. It's a museum on campus. Should that be paid for with overall tuition funds, coming from all students, or just fees for the students who want art classes but aren't art majors? These are the types of discussions they have to have. And my point is, it gets really into the minutia. The parking fees, they were nominal. They're talking about $1.50 or $1.70. Sorry. They're talking about $1.70, increase in parking, transportation service requested, $1.73 increase that would bring, the total fee for transportation, for parking on campus and transportation to $24. The director of transportation services at the time said that they don't plan to ask for another fee increase in addition to this $1.73 that they asked for the next 7 years. They think this will keep them good operating budget-wise that way. So it's not that any of this isn't manageable. What it is, again, is that, it might sound like a $10 fee or a $20 fee or a X% increase to a fee, to an existing fee. But when you're a student, this adds up. And when tuition is already skyrocketing to just ludicrous amounts, there is a point, and everyone knows this, where you're actually discouraging college attendance just because of costs. And so the universities have to balance that, and the State Board of Higher Education has to balance that. And that's why fee increase discussions make everyone nervous. But at the same time, you do have to pay the bills, keep the lights on. Also, fair argument, many people will pop up when these discussions start and say, how much are we spending on capital projects? Do the university really need that many new buildings? Sometimes the answer is yes. There's some pretty clear examples throughout the state of Utah at colleges where the answer probably could have been no, but the building was constructed anyway. So today, everyone involved, from USU Board of Trustee members to, in fact, the chair of the Board of Trustees, Tessa White, spoke. Another board member, Steve Neeleman, spoke today. And of course, USU President Brad Mortensen spoke today at the state's, Board of Higher Education meeting. And basically, they were all grilled on why they're requesting these fee increases for students and whether the university is doing enough to keep the cost of athletics down, to keep the cost of tuition down for students. So some audio clips here. This is courtesy of Eric Franzen, who was able to get the full meeting recorded today. And some clips from some of the key discussions that'll give you an idea of where all of this is headed and the impacts that it could have on everything from USU athletics and our access to them as members of the public, but also attendance at the University of Utah State University in general. So first up, here is USU Board of Trustees Chair Tessa White explaining the timing of the fee increase itself.
Although we are asking for this one-time athletics fee, which I understand, and I'm with you in the same camp in terms of being very mindful in this athletics environment of passing along costs to students, we believe that this is a strategic thing that we need to do in order to connect the students to athletics. We have the highest participation rates around for students attending our athletic events, which we'll go through. And we do believe in this building year that we have, being able to keep our tickets at zero for the students to go to football and basketball is really important. That gives us a year to build and prepare for Pac-12. And we feel like it's something that would be very important to us.
One of the questions the state board members had is why prioritize student fees for athletics over just making students buy a ticket. And this was the response from board chair, USU Board of Trustees Chair Tessa White.
We're not a school that has a lot of money. We're never going to be the ones that have...
I'm sorry, wrong clip. Here is Tessa White responding to that question, why prioritize fees on all students rather than just making students who attend buy a ticket to the games?
I think it's not only like they said, something that helps with student connectivity and student wellness, which is really, really important right now, but it does seem to be a secret weapon for us in terms of athletics. And if you have to start charging for student tickets this year, those numbers will drop dramatically. So whether it comes out of the fees or whether students have to pay by ticket, I think this is the better model to go off of for this year.
During the discussion, USU Board of Trustees, Utah State Higher Education Board member Steve Nealman nearly flipped his lid. And I don't say that in a negative way or a mocking way. He basically said, I'm listening to all of this. Everything makes sense. Everyone is coming here in good faith and making, I don't think there's anything sneaky or nefarious going on here, but we all seem to be ignoring the simple fact that none of this is sustainable.
Until we can embrace the fact that this is not sustainable, then all of this is just Band-Aids. It's just Band-Aids. And it's like Band-Aids on a gushing wound. Sorry to be so graphic. It just is. And so I wish that we could come up with a better solution long term to make these programs sustainable financially. I don't think the NCAA has done their job, honestly, in providing insight. I mean, if it does sound like the Utah State team has done, some good due diligence with the survey and speaking to what is important to the students up there. So I think that's a really important data point. But I'm just telling you, we're going to be back here every single year having the same discussion unless we fix this model.
That was, again, Steve Nealman of the Utah State Board of Higher Education, hearing this presentation from the USU Board of Trustees members and USU President Brad Mortensen. Speaking of President Mortensen, he got his chance in the hot seat. And one of the first questions State Board of Higher Education members had for him, again, as they weighed this proposal for a increase to student athletic fees. That was the specific discussion at this point in the hour-long meeting. They turned to Brad Mortensen and said, can USU athletics reduce its costs overall? Has that been explored? Here's what President Mortensen had to say.
And if we can do more in terms of sponsorships and using athletic facilities to generate revenues through concerts or other events, what are our ticket packaging processes like now? Can we be charging more and generating more for tickets? When a lot of people talk about athletics, they think all these TV media right contracts, you get more when you change conferences, and that pays all the difference in the expenses, and it doesn't always work out. But we're certainly considering all of those factors. But you're absolutely right. That is how Utah State is funding a big piece of its athletic budget now.
So basically, we're doing a lot, but the president of Utah State University acknowledging there could possibly be more done to offset the cost to both the state and students through fees and increases in tuition to pay for the athletics programs. It could be interesting to see them get creative with that one. In the end, though, Mortensen said he feels it's really important that people remember and acknowledge that athletics isn't just a fringe benefit, that athletics have a huge impact on the campuses, the universities themselves, and also students and student life.
We are trying to address all of the revenue generating areas of our athletic program to improve and optimize the potential for additional revenue there so our teams can be competitive. It was a lot of fun for all of us to win a Mountain West championship and to go to the NCAA tournament and win a game and be a couple of 3-pointers away from going to the Sweet 16. But that does tremendous things for our students. We had a great crowd of students at the game in Las Vegas, and the impact that the herd has on belonging on campus, from going to the football games at Maverick Stadium and in the Spectrum, is real and palpable. It's a very important part of the student experience at Utah State University. 63% of our students used their access for tickets to football or basketball games this past year, and 85% are using their access to the campus recreation participants. So these are not a student fee that only a small portion of the campus is taking advantage of.
Again, this was part of a discussion. Utah System of Higher Education Board held their student tuition and fee discussion with members of USU's Board of Trustees, USU President Brad Mortensen there on hand. And as you can see, not a lot of consensus on this. The short version, USU asking for athletic fees increases among some other fee increases, saying, you know, our cost of operations are going up. The board, responding to both the USU Board of Trustees members and the president himself, USU President Mortensen, basically saying we all recognize none of this is sustainable. We have questions about whether USU athletics or athletics at colleges throughout the state in general are doing as much as they can to reduce their costs. And in the end, nothing concrete happened at this meeting today, but the board does have a ticking clock. Of course, if USU is going to do this, decision needs to be made by the end of the school year, roughly, so they can make adjustments before the beginning of the next school year. We'll see. Their next meeting is scheduled for 30 days from today. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And if you have both Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible for a United Healthcare Dual Complete plan if your Medicaid status has changed. A Dual Complete plan may help you get more benefits than original Medicare alone. Visit uhcdualplans.com to learn more. That's uhcdualplans.com. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage you can count on.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
Got a fundraiser, charity drive, or nonprofit event coming up? Let us help spread the word. Send the details to calendar@cvradio.com and we'll share it with our community. From bake sales to benefit concerts to community celebrations, Cache Valley Media Group is here to amplify your efforts. We're proud to support the people and causes that make our community stronger. Email calendar@cvradio.com today and let's build a better, more connected community, one event at a time.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. You may have heard about following the money during a war. Hear how many companies have registered to lobby the federal government lately. Also, the number of factors driving up the number of millionaires and billionaires in the U.S. and how these groups are changing the economy. And why planning for retirement can be a brutal math test. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. For the People movie show coming up in just a couple of minutes here. We'll be talking Project Hail Mary, Ready or Not 2, the new films in theaters just this weekend. Catching up a bit after no show last weekend, and happy to do it. Andy Morgan joining us here in just a couple of minutes. Before we get to that, since it is the last regular hour of the show for the week, I'll leave you all with a 1 hour early end of show moment of zen to send you into your weekend, but do hope you stick around for the movie show. I talked about this earlier in the week. Now there are more photos courtesy of the Associated Press. But if you haven't seen them, you have to check out, especially considering the TSA issues and spring break next week and how ugly the airports might get. Two different stories. Delayed travelers in Miami, turning the airport concourse into a dance club rave with the sanction of airport staff and security. And a redo in the Philadelphia airport of making the longest cheesesteak in history, hoping to set a world record. They did it. They had to do it try twice. They failed on Monday. They came back today and got an extra 7 inches of Philly cheesesteak. It is being called the longest line at any airport. Check it out. Photos on our Facebook.